My name is Bife here, and this is going to be covering a lore-accurate story of yet but a void, simple, humble titan who raided a damn land tank on Nessus and created 305 orbs of power in one solo GM run. So, refer to your binder book of the chronological stories of Nessus on the land tank against Ignovian, the chosen of Catel. So this video is going to be covering a very interesting Void Titan build. Right, now Void Titan's off meta, so this is an off meta run. So let me just get this straight with you, right? I have the meta run. It was 37 minutes, 36 minutes. The solo, that is. That is what I consider to be the absolute pinnacle setup to use on a solo GM in this, for the build for this run. With Anarchy, Song of Flame, because what you can tank. It's the absolute best class for this, in my opinion. Now, this isn't the best class for it, but there's a high skill gap to it, and I've only just started using it as of today. So I'm not going to be that good with it. But look at the amount of orbs we generate. And we generate, as I said at the start of the video, 305 orbs in one run. So you can imagine how good this build with Ursa Furiosa is for a fighting. Now you're going to say to me, well, this build isn't good for solo. Well, it is and it isn't. It is when this mod's on, when this Void Hunger mod is on, so you can take advantage of Void builds. Even though it's not Void Surge, forget about the Void Surges just for one moment. Don't just forget about it. When Void Hunger comes on, you want to use a Void build because you can take advantage of the Void build. So imagine a Void Walker. Imagine a Void Hunter with Grafalcon, or Orpheus Rig for that matter. Right, with Tethers, just tethering over and over and over and over. Think of any Void build that you can think of. Maybe Nezarec Sin, but I don't think you need Nezarec Sin. You probably just go Controverse Hold or Briarbinds. Briarbinds are going to melt with this. But let's get back to what I'm doing, which is the Void Titan build. So we're using Bastion, the Barricade. We're using Shield Throw because we don't need to use... we just use Shield Throw because you can proc it from range. You don't need to run and try and shoulder charge ads. We're using Deterministic Chaos because we have to, really. For this setup, for me to work, because I'm on a Void Titan and stuff, and I need good unstop in my loadout. If we're not using Anarchy, which I did not want to use Anarchy in this run, because I think it defeats the purpose of the run. It is a pure Void build setup entirely, and to get barrier and unstop in your loadout without using double primary, we need to use a heavy that can either stun, unstops, or barrier. So I could have ran Leviathan's Breath with a barrier scout. But I think Leviathan's Breath's slow. In my opinion, it's a slow weapon on unstops. It's really good that what it does. I'm not saying it's not, but I find it a slow weapon. So instead, I was like, right, let's reverse it, invert it. Let's go Deterministic Chaos because it's got barrier intrinsic and then an unstop pulse, so that we've got a actual traditional way of stopping unstoppables. It's absolutely critical that we do this on a build like this because we need to kill those twin unstops lest we wipe. It is that important to us, the unstop. I can't tell you how important it is unstoppable. So we went with doing a kinetic unstoppable pulse with kinetic tremors, because obviously kinetic tremors is the meta for primary weapons. It's absolutely the meta. You should be running kinetic tremor primaries. If you are running a legendary weapon, it should always involve kinetic tremors or explosive payload, or both. If you can get both, you can. Which the goat of PvE scouts right now is Hung Jury, but the role eludes me. I've still never got an explosive payload and kinetic tremors. If you have that scout, you need to be using it, because I'm aware some of you have it and are not using it. You need to start using it ASAP. It's the best scout in the game, legendary wise, that is. Not exotic wise. Exotic's a different category. So we're just taking our time here with the turrets. This run is a slower run, but I did clear the entire amount of ads in this entire GM. I didn't skip anything. That was mainly to test out what this unbreakable aspect is capable of. So we've got a super here. Okay. So I'm also testing damage. I'm foreshadowing what damage I would do against the twin unstops. Can I one cycle the champ with Twilight Arsenal? And the answer's not quite. Right? It's 3/4. So that's got me a little bit worried for the boss fight. Because, again, if we don't get that kill on one of the unstops. It's quite critical. So we're going to spam our GL here. So the GL's critical to this as well, because the amount of void damage it does over time, it feeds the worm hunger. That's what makes this work a lot as well. So we're going to get an increased amount of ability regen, of course, when ability surge is procced. I believe it's 20 seconds per proc. It takes 1 to 2 shots to do the void starvation, and we can then proc our void builds and stuff. We've got a super anyway, so I needn't do an unbreakable here. I needn't do it because I've already got my super, and we're going to use it on boss. Deterministic Chaos, even though there's no void surge, it's still holding up. It's holding up really well. So as I said from last week, it's literally one of the best barrier weapons that you want to use this season. If you want to diversify your loadouts a little bit, and you maybe don't want to use a scout, you can still use scouts. Like I said, kinetic tremors will one cycle shields easily. We're trying to gain some super energy here, so look at the super bar. Every time I do that, make sure you look at the super bar. It's not telling you the amount of orbs I'm making sometimes. It should appear on the left hand side. Maybe that's because, I don't know. I don't know why sometimes it's not shown and sometimes it does show. I don't know why that is. But I am in actual fact making orbs when I do my unbreakable. The next trigger obviously is when the boss gets half HP. So we're getting a lot of sustained fire off him. We need to build up void starvation, so we'll do that with the GL. And we can get to the next phase. Bear in mind, I'll remind you, well, I haven't said this. This was my first run. Once I understood the build, I had to kind of understand how Unbreakable works, because I didn't really understand how it worked fully with this. But as in the interaction between that and the Savathun Worm mod, once I understood that, this was my first run. My first serious attempt, this was it. So I'm posting the first serious attempt of it. I'm not going to run it back and do a 46-minute clear as opposed to a 60-minute clear. I'm not too bothered about that. The video's long anyways, regardless. Most of you average watch time 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes anyways, so it makes no odds to me to then go and run back this. This build's unique, and I always value a unique solo GM clear over a meta one, always, for me, because it's more difficult. But as I said, that's not taken away from this build. This build's really good in this for survivability. I was surprised on how much I could tank with it. You're not invincible. I've still died to Unbreakable when testing it. Like if a nade goes at your feet. See, if a Cabal throws a nade at your feet, it bypasses the shield and it'll just kill you if you're weak enough. So just be careful of that. I didn't know that there was 2 orange bars here. I was about to just go and defeat the generator, explode the generator, but I didn't realize these 2 Cabal enemies were here. So that was slowing us down a little bit. That's fine, because they kept going in the bubble as well, which was annoying. So we'll just try and do tick damage to them. I think this orange bar was not pushing, so this was being a little bit annoying. At least we've got super though. We have super for when boss's shield goes down. So we'll try and bait this. I don't know why. I've never known them be this awkward, these legionaries. So he's finishable. So we have an aspect on the build where when we get a finish kill, we go invis, which you might think that has no synergy, but it's nice on a Void Titan to have some sort of invis at critical moments. So I always say when you use a Void build in GMs, even if it's on Void Walker, put that aspect on that allows you to go invis, because there's a finisher build this season. There's an actual finisher build. So there's a mod where you get resistance, right, when you finish an enemy for 10 seconds or whatever it is. That's amazing, that mod. Because you won't die. You probably won't die. It's highly, highly unlikely that you will die if you've got that mod on when you're finishing targets. And in GMs, there's times when you want to get a finisher kill. It's extremely valuable finisher kills. Especially when you can't one-cycle a champ. So like I said before, my Twilight Arsenal, I can't one-cycle a champ with this super. Right? as in one stun. It'll be close, but if we can get them finishable, that's good enough, because then we can clean up with a safe invis finisher and then retreat. It's a way of surviving when otherwise you wouldn't survive. So that's why we do that. So that's the first section cleared. Now the double tank section. So this is obviously going to be really interesting. This build's kind of a lockdown build, what I refer to as a lockdown build. Warlocks also, the Prismatic Warlock run I showed you the other day there, is a lockdown build, and it's the best lockdown build in the game with the chestplate. But this is also what I refer to as a lockdown build. Lockdown build means that you can stand your ground and that there's no map rotation needed. You can stand the ground and fight the enemies without dying. Whereas let's give you a comparison. A Void Hunter is not a lockdown build. Well, it is with the Tether, but I'm on about its neutral game with the invis and all that stuff. That's not a lockdown build, right? That's more of a stealth survivability build where you do map rotation, etc., etc., right? So it's not a lockdown build. Orpheus Rigs is, because you keep getting your Tether over and over and over, but the neutral game of it isn't. This build is lockdown. You can lock down a room. So imagine in Glassware, you can definitely lock down one of the sides, left or right, with this build. Against Rivens is going to be interesting, but we haven't got Glassware, I suppose, have we? So that's a shame. We haven't got Glassware to test with as a GM against Rivens. I would like to see how this Unbreakable aspect is. In actual fact, it's a new way of playing this. It's an actual new way of playing. So any Titans out there that you're getting fed up with the Prismatic Titan and you want to do some other builds, try out the Ursa Furiosa one and try it out on different enemy types and see what it's like. But you need to try and do it in end game really, because in mid game, mid to early game, you will be able to block everything anyways. Now in Vesper's Host, I don't know what it'll be able to block. Vesper's Host, it wouldn't be worth running because there's a high DPS requirement at the final boss, and there's just no place for Void Titan in there. So Vesper's Host is out of the equation. You would not run a Void Titan build in there. You just wouldn't do that. It would either be Prismatic Titan or Solar Titan and Stasis for the first boss. So check what you've got. Don't jump down is the key. You need to destroy both vehicles. This allows movement in the double tank room. We're going to debuff the mini boss. You need to check which mini boss you got. I got Slow. You can get Meteor. I think you can get Drain. I think you can get any Bane. But the interesting thing is that like healing Banes don't exist much in this GM. I haven't seen one actually. It's mainly Slows and it's Meteors. That's the two ones, but the key is use your super to take down that VIP target in mid. You'll get 2 VIP targets and they are randomized. It could be a Solar Shield, Arc Shield or Scion, but 2 of them. So look, I got a Scion, that's perfect. If you get the Scion as a VIP, save him. He's not threatening at all and we can take advantage of that, because the next trigger for the double tanks to spawn is the VIP targets. Once all VIP targets are killed, and a certain amount of Cabal enemies are also killed, that will spawn in the tanks. However, you are going to be depleted of ammo, right? After so long, especially after 2 barriers on this loadout. So we need to do an ammo run. To allow yourself to do an ammo run, you need to take down the vehicle at the back of the map, because he's a 1 KO. He will 1 KO you at face blank shot. So, we leave the Scion alive. Okay, leave the Scion alive. He's not that threatening. He does that Void attack. That's the only thing. And you have got Void Hunger on. And if you are Void Hunger, if you're Starvation of Void, he'll do increased damage. Because remember, you take increased damage from Void with the Void Hunger. Luckily, this GM doesn't have much Void in it. But imagine Glassware. Imagine the Glassware GM on Void Hunger, how hard it would be. You'd be well, it wouldn't be that hard, but it would make things interesting. You would need to run a Void build probably to help it out. So now I'm just playing my time. The Unbreakable build's not going to do much for us right now, but it is going to come into its own in a minute. On the double tank section, it is going to, when we need to stand our ground or left or right, it's going to be interesting. So what I'm doing here is I am playing slow, but I'm doing that on purpose because I'm not confident enough that I'll kill one of the barriers in time before the dogs spawn in. So if dogs spawn in whilst you're killing a mid barrier, just be careful of that. See, Deterministic Chaos is good, but it's not like a burst damage weapon where you're going to be able to melt them down super quick in one cycle. And that's what it was. So I'm prepping the room. All right, that's what I'm doing. I'm just these dogs, my timing was off on them. I thought they were spawning any minute. But we can at least take out any Cabal enemies that are left alive. Apart from the Scion, of course. So we're going to try a shield break because yeah, we didn't get the good super here going off. So we didn't get a good super and adds are pushing to our right. That's really bad, but that shows a mechanic in the game working. So when you push champs, if there's any ads that were hiding, will then push you. That's an actual mechanic. It's called mob. It's an actual mechanic, that, and you've seen it working just there. So yeah, ads won't push you when you're not if a barrier is idle, but once the barrier starts to engage with you a little bit, all the ads come out of the woodwork. So those are the dogs. That's what I was waiting on. The barriers have split up, which is a little bit better for me. So we can. I'm going to push up a little bit now. There is a vehicle at the back, but the vehicle shouldn't be able to kill me from here, so I'm good. So now we can focus a little bit on one of the barriers. And get our shield break. The other barrier is pushing, but he won't push up here. So that's fine. Just use the GL here. We're using our ability surge. So that's another good thing about this is that we're going to keep getting Bastion barricades. Now barricades obviously got a buff. They take aggro off enemies as well. So that makes Bastion actually intrinsically better than what it used to be. So Bastion's actually got a mini buff because of how barricade now works. Second barrier is now pushed as well. The debuff that Deterministic Chaos gives and the GL, they don't stack, but that's fine. We haven't got it on for that particular reason. It's on so that we can have an unstoppable pulse on. We were unfortunate there with that. That's okay. I was worried about the vehicle a little bit because he starts firing at me, which is not meant to be happening, but that's okay. Barrier's half health. He's acting weird as well. I guess because he's sort of debuffed. Yeah, that's what was putting me off on this barrier, was that damn vehicle plus that sound on my right. But it's definitely worth keeping the sound alive. If you can, if you do get Scion. You might not. If you don't get Scion, then you need to keep the vehicle alive, the one at the back last. The problem is, it's difficult to do an ammo run when the vehicle's up, when he has one shot potential, because it's a vehicle. So that's annoying. So this Scion's to our left messing around. That's okay. Like I said, the Scion is not threatening. We're just going to use kinetic tremors to take out this vehicle. If you notice my ammo, it's depleted, because on this build, it is more ammo dependent than other builds. But both weapons have good ammo economy on them. Deterministic Chaos has good ammo economy on it, right? And the GL has fantastic ammo economy on it. Like, if you get a brick, that's so much damage in your weapon you've just got there. Right, that's so much damage. If you get 7-8 shots off a brick, that's lasting you a good 90 seconds at least of constant spam. So the ammo economy of the GL is really good. So you need to make sure that you farm this roll up. Or is Bungie giving you the roll? I don't know what Bungie's giving us. But yeah, honestly, it's a weapon. It's a go-to weapon this season. This weapon right here. So you need to make sure. So we're doing our ammo run here. We need plenty of GL. And we need plenty of heavy as well, really. At least 200 plus on this phase. Which we've got our ammo. That's fine. So we're going to go left-hand side. And this is where we're going to damage from. So we'll get some GL shots from this door here. Get a Bastion barricade down. Then we're going to keep doing our GL shots. We'll get a finisher kill here. We may as well for invis. That will de-aggro tank. Then we'll pop super. Okay, and our goal is to stand our ground. We're not going to move from here. Look at the tank. The tank is weak. We'll use Deterministic Chaos to break a leg if possible. Boom, that's one tank down. Build has done really well. Let's see if we can keep doing good. So, we're going to do some unbreakable stuff. See what we can tank here. I don't know if we can tank a direct shot off a tank. I don't know. And I don't want to find out on this run because we're 20 minutes 35 seconds in. I don't want to waste that time. I would say maybe not. It maybe might not tank it. But I don't know the answer to the question. Somebody's going to tell me that it does, that you can out-tank it. Sure, you can, but you're also taking damage from barriers, nades, and the nades bypass the shield, because the nade will stand at your feet. The nade will bypass shield. The Cabal nades, specifically. That was what I was worried about more than the tank, I suppose. But look, we're standing our ground here with this. This is really good. We keep getting our barricade up. We've got an unbreakable if we need it. And look, we're standing our ground. So this build has done really well on the double tank section. I would give it a 9.5 out of 10 for double tank. And to be honest with you, that's where people wipe. In Proving Grounds, it's the most difficult room. In my opinion, it's still the most difficult room. With the boss room being probably second. So, if you're in a fire team run and your teams are struggling, pop on this Ursa Furiosa build, because you don't need to run a Sentinel Shield to guard with it. You can just use Unbreakable as your guard. And you're going to generate more than enough supers. More than enough orbs, sorry. And then in turn that will be supers for your fire team. We can also, as a solo player, farm up Twilight Arsenals. And that's what's very useful for this. So keep your eye on this build. It is something to keep an eye on. It's definitely not meta. It's definitely an IP change. It's a way of playing Titan different, Void Titan. It is definitely something that's totally different. So it's something to keep on an eye on for that. But it's not going to be a meta class that you would run that would compete with Prismatic Titan, because Prismatic Titan is just Prismatic Titan with Consecration Slam, and I feel as though they need to nerf Prismatic Titan. It's becoming a problem in the game to the point where, okay, you've had your fun with the Consecration. It's Transcendence that needs nerfed. It's not Consecration itself. You could leave Consecration as it is. It's the melee buff that you get via Transcendence. It's too much. It probably needs to be halved. If they halve the ability regen on that, people will still go Prismatic Titan, but then it will, as a Titan main, you might just start to consider to run other stuff like full elemental builds again. You know, Soul is always going to be an option, but like maybe you might want to run full Arc or full Void, right? Over than just using Prismatic Titan, because it's taken over. It's starting to take over the game, and when something starts to take over the game like that, it becomes a problem long term, not short term, because you know people should be allowed to have fun with things for so long. But we're approaching the 6 months mark now of Prismatic Titan being super strong. It needs to be adjusted, in my opinion. I would, and that's not to have fun with people or to mess around with people. That's just to say, look, it's too strong of a pick. Titans aren't picking anything else other than Solar, so it's Solar Titan. But that doesn't mean that we need to nerf Solar Titan. Always leave Solar Titan as it is, because it's a restoration build for Solar players, which is often needed in things. So leave that as it is, but just sort of adjust it, in my eyes. That's what they need to do. So look, we farmed up a super as well. We used Unbreakable on a champ. So if you want a super and you want to farm a super for the next section, you can do that. We're just going to spam some GL shots here. That's the double tank section done anyways, and I would say that went really well. That went decent. So we'll just finish off this final champ. By the way, when you're using Deterministic Chaos, you need Void Holster on it. You need to put Void Holster on the boots. If you don't, you're not going to get the same effect that I did have with taking barriers, because it allows you to cycle between weapons. Because Deterministic Chaos weakness is that it's a low mag, it's a 48 mag, it's kind of low, but what eliminates the low mag is using Void Holster, right? Because you're not going to one cycle a champion 50 bullets, you will in 100, but that requires a reload midway. Rather than doing that, cycle between your weapons. So cycle a bit of kinetic tremor damage, a bit of area denial damage, then back to the machine gun, then maybe an ability damage, and then maybe a super or whatever it might be. And that just, as I say, that allows you to break shields via a heavy weapon, which is powerful. So we've got a bad champ here. We've got a bad Bane. Sorry, the Bane is Drain. It's the hardest Bane to fight against. So take note, we've got a bad one here. The only good thing about this right now is that we can do damage from back here. So Drain's very unforgiving. You only need to peek and they tether you. It's basically a tether when they get line of sight on you, so you've got to be careful. So my priority right now is the Bane, not the champ. So I don't care that the champ's not stopped right now. What I care about more is getting that Drain enemy down. Once the Drain enemy's killed, I'm safe. Because an unstop's easily controllable. This unstop's not going to push us now. See, the interesting thing about this unstop in particular, he will only push if there's ads surrounding him. Once the ads are killed, the unstop just wants to hang around in mid. So the unstop's not a problem to us at all. You need to understand, some champs are more aggressive depending on how many ads are surrounding the champ. This is true for overloads, it's true for barriers, it's true for all of them. You nerf them once you kill all the ads. So in some occasions you need to isolate ads away from champs. That is the critical thing. Once you learn that, you're good with GMs. But you just need to know the environment that you're working in and how you can manipulate that, and each GM's different. The idea is the same, but how we position ourselves different on a GM basis. For example, Glassware, to isolate overloads from them from each other, there's different strats of doing that. Whereas isolating different barriers away from each other in Proving Grounds is different, but it's the same idea. It just depends on how you do things. So we use the super here because we may as well. We've got a slowed Gladiator, another Bane, which they're not threatening. Just make sure you don't let them get too close. If they do, just jump back. There's 2 turrets we need to take from our left, which we're going to do that. So we'll get a GL shot to de-aggro the ads to our right. Obviously it's overload GL. Now I know there's no overload champs in this, but this is a critical thing as well that you need to know. See, overload disrupts combatants. Combatants is the key word, not champs. People think, oh, it disrupts overloads. No, it disrupts all enemies. What does even disrupt mean? Disrupt does not mean stun. They are two different things. Disrupt means to lower combatant damage output. So you nerf them. It's like the Psycho Hack origin perk that the Witch Queen weapons have. It's the same as that. And I believe it stacks with Psycho Hack, the actual origin perk. So you nerf them even further. So even if you're in an unstoppable barrier-centric GM, it doesn't matter. You can still take advantage of overload weapons. So you should always be using overload GL unless you have a purpose to use barrier GL, which you can do via Radiant. So if you've got a Radiant build on and you want to melt a barrier via Radiant to give your GL barrier, then you need to take overload GL off. You need to deactivate it. I think people are just not with it on this. When a weapon does not have a champ mod in it, to make it barrier, you need to take the champ mod off, and then Radiant will overtake the mod. That is critical to know that, because for example, you know, like on Lightblade last week, you could do that. Take overload GL off. If you're using like a Song of Flame Radiant setup, you pop super, your GL now has barrier in it. So you can do that as well, but obviously I don't need to do that. because I'm not using a Radiant build. I have Deterministic Chaos as the barrier breaking weapon, so I didn't need to do that. I'm just telling you how that works. We've also got Devour, which is critical to the boss. We haven't really seen Devour needs at the minute, but you will see me take advantage of that. And we do that by getting Orbs of Power. Now, this GL has attrition orbs, so like I say, I must say to you, whatever role you get, if you do get an attrition orbs role, you need to keep it at all costs. It's so valuable to you, alright, because you're gonna get an orb, even off one red bar. Because the red bars are far more tanky in GMs, you will generate 1 to 2 orbs off a red bar when you hit them with the Area Denial GL. That means our Void Titan now just turns into a Slayer type build. We can then stay alive in some fashion when we need to, when we're in small rooms, which the final boss is a small room, so we need to do that. We need to take advantage of Devour. So that's another critical aspect of the build, is that we have Devour on, which I know it's not like restoration levels of survivability, but it's good enough. And with this build it's definitely so. Plus we've got the invis, so we've got 2 ways of surviving: Devour, and we've got the invis kill, which gives us overshield, and it gives a resist. Look at the resistance on the left hand side. So we have Scion. We could have got the Solar Shield. So if you get Scion, it's a little slower because he just hides forever and forever. But that's no problem at all. I'm actually thinking about my ammo. I'm going to try Unbreakable here, but this guy's not really hitting us. See, with the Unbreakable as well, it restores when you're getting hit. So the more enemies surrounding you, the more you're going to get grenade energy back. So if it's against one ad, you lose Unbreakable rather quick. So it's not the best application of use, but I don't need it anytime soon, and I'm going to get it back anyways because it's an ability spam type build. I was just trying to deal with him quickly, and I'm trying kind of farming super up. I was in 2 minds of super in him, but he's weak now. Like, I mean, earlier on. But, yeah, it's fine, because we can use the super here. So, add spawn as that VIP target is killed. You'll get a gladiator. Most likely, one of the gladiators is a Bane. He could be Meteor, he could be slow. Hopefully, he's not Drain. That would be a nightmare. Because we've just had a Drain one. Yeah, he's a slowed one. We don't end up using super here because I would have done, but the ads did not group up good enough. We use a bit of machine gun ammo here. That's another thing as well with the Deterministic Chaos thing. It's doing 2 things for us. It's doing ad clear, survivability, volatile rounds, and it's doing your barrier rounds. And it'll do good single target damage good. With Void Surge it's even better. It's even better. Without Void Surge, you will feel it do a little bit less than what you would hope, but it's still good enough because of the weakening effect that it has in the gun, and we have weakening effect via our GL. So because we have the weakening effects, yeah, it stands for damage as a fantastic option to use. Not off meta at all. It's Deterministic Chaos is not off meta. I still think people think it's off meta. It's not. It absolutely isn't. Because it diversifies builds. You could run blind and nades. Do you understand how powerful that is? You could use an ignition code with blind and nades in the kinetic slot. Not that it's better than this Area Denial GL right now, but I'm just giving you an example for loadouts. It diversifies loadouts so much because it stops you from using double primary as well. Because I would have had to use double primary otherwise, unless I used Levy's Breath. But I didn't want to use Levy's Breath for the reasons I stated at the start of the video. It's just too slow. It's not going to take the unstop quick enough for me. So I found this to be better. I actually think the Deterministic Chaos is better for GMs. I think it's better than Levy's Breath. And that's a bold claim, but I do think it's better. That's GMs, that is. I'm not on about dungeons. Dungeons are a little different. I think, yeah, Levy's Breath, it's not as good for GMs as Deterministic Chaos, because Deterministic Chaos has a better ammo economy, and it does ad clear plus single target damage plus barrier shield capabilities. Deterministic Chaos is better than Levy's Breath. You heard it here first. For GMs, it is. I'm not messing around. I know I mess around sometimes, but I'm absolutely saying it, definitely. We have not reloaded our GL, oh well, doesn't matter. So the unstop will push. If he does, you can come back to the back of the map. Just bear in mind not to creep too far forward where the barrier can see you, because he could melt you from a distance without you noticing. So that is always a thing. That's why you can see I'm hanging to the left quite a lot, so that the barrier has no line of sight on me. So we can take this unstoppable in our leisure. We can also use a super when we want, because, well, we could farm one back, or we can just let the game give us it via the banner at Proven Grounds. The Proven Grounds boss will give us our super back when we rally. It won't give us ammo, but it'll give us the thing. So we're going to use the super after first shield break. That's the key. Use the super after first shield break, not before. That's where I made the mistake on the first set of barriers in the double tank room of supering at the wrong time. We have a shock bane here. They are bad, but they're not as bad as a drain one. The drain banes are the worst. But shock can be deadly a little bit. You just need to know how to play them. The goal is just to play from distance. It really is. With all banes, you can apply that logic to every single bane. Because I know the new combatants, the power to deal with banes, if you struggle with them, is just to kill them from range. That's it. If you've got like a melee-centric build on, well, they're going to die anyways if you're Prismatic Titan, you know, but that is the goal, is just to kill them from range. The Banes, with them being new PvE AI, somebody like me should be really excited about it, and I was when I first heard about it, but now we've got them in the game, I think they're a nice addition. I think the Meteor ones is a nice addition. The healing one's good. You need to kill a priority target. I think wizards mainly have them, but I think any ad can have them. I think the Banes are a good addition. I think the Drain one's a bit... I don't like the Drain Bane. I think that one's a bit unfair, to be honest. But yeah, that's what I think about them. You don't find them at the boss fight much, which... I think it would be a little bit unfair if Banes were at boss fights, but I'm not sure. I haven't played all GMs to know this. So we'll banner up. Obviously that gives us ability energy, and we're going to immediately go in this section here. So what we're going to do is debuff super right away, because the ads do not spawn until you've damaged the boss a little bit. Then you get the Cabal Grunt. Then we're going to pop down a Bastion, and we need to get an Orb. My goal right now is to get an Orb. So we got an Orb, get Devour, and then whip out Machine Gun. Whip out Machine Gun, kill all ads. Do it quickly. The quicker you do this, the better, because the boss is not enraged yet. He's not doing his solar balls yet. So we have time. Look at that one. Look at how weak he got us on Void Starvation, which I'm going to talk about it again in a minute. I think that's all ads down, which it is, yeah. So the Void Starvation thing, if we do not have Void Hunger procced, you are a 2-shot, no matter what power level you are. I'm convinced on that by now. Right? Now I heard Mike say about the Void Hunger thing that he didn't feel much threat from it. Yeah, because his run was a fire team run. So you're not going to feel the threat, because aggro is 1/3. It's split, isn't it, between your fire teammates. So the three of you, you're only going to get 1/3 of the aggro as what you would get if you're solo. I'm getting 100% of his aggro. Therefore, I know that he 2-shots because I've seen it. Well, it's obvious that he 2-shots because on direct hits, that is. It's a direct hit. Yeah? So 1 shot off him will get us red, shielded. Our shields will be broke. Then the follow-up shot will kill us right out. That's when Void Starvation is on. If we proc the Ability Surge buff, it's not a 2-shot. It's probably a 3-shot at that point. Could be even more. So that buff, when we are debuffed via Void Starvation, it really hurts you at this boss fight, because he does Void. You know, I know he does solar, but I don't care about the balls. We can avoid that very easily. But his Void attack's actually really accurate. Even when you try and jump past him, it's accurate. So that's a constant thing when you're doing DPS. We're going to speed up the footage a little bit here because the video is long, so I don't want it, as I say, too long for editing purposes. So we're going to speed up DPS. The goal is just to do damage left and right, left and right, left and right. He keeps doing his fireballs. Eventually, the fireballs will stop. When they stop, you still do the same thing. You just go left and right. You do a bit of damage, wait for him to enrage. What will happen is the balls will hit the front of that structure, and it just means that you don't need to shoot them. You never need to shoot them. Only occasionally you might want to do that, but why shoot them when you can just run them, outrun them? So we need all our ability stuff. We need our super. I would have your barricade and all that stuff, because we're going to need to melt an unstop. We need to make sure that the unstop's at least finishable, which we can do that. To do that on this build, we need to debuff fire GL first. I know that the Twilight Axes do debuff enemies anyways, but that doesn't matter, because we need to do more damage than just the super. We do that by doing the GL shot, right, over time on the champ, then super, then putting some damage with the machine gun, and then hopefully he is finishable. So we debuff right away, stun with the pulse, super. We need to be near this structure so that the fireballs don't hit us. Oh, and we killed him. My bad. So I'd done enough damage to kill. That's good. But yeah, it was good that we done the GL shot first. That increased our damage. We can now hide. We now need to wait for second unstop. He can push left or right, but the unstop will be not aggroed on you because he spawns from the other side of the door. The door on the other side. It depends on which. He may push the way that you done damage to the champ, which he did. He pushed to my left. But you're going to think, well, how am I going to survive? Well, I'm going to take advantage of Bastion with the Void Ability Surge. So we'll proc Bastion right away, then 2 GL shots. That confirms my second Bastion, because we're not going to one-cycle because we don't have super. We could farm a super up via Unbreakable right now, but it's not worth it because the fireballs. So it's better just to take it out in stages like this, look. Another Bastion down. This allows us to survive. This means that we can just melt the second unstop from range. What this is also doing is allowing the boss to get his solar attacks done. Because once the solar attacks stop, which we need to wait that out anyways. Okay? Once that stops, we can then deal with the Cabal bubble. Which that's what I'm waiting on now. So we'll just speed up the footage. So you just keep waiting. Once you stop hearing the solar ball things, you can then push and take down the generator. Now this run took a while as well because the generator, I didn't have a good loadout to take down the generator really fast. Anarchy deals with it quick. Skyburner's off can when you know the strat, when you don't run barrier in it. But yeah, our loadout wasn't the best for this, so we're just going to wait it out. So the boss, we need to wait for the boss to be idle. So you need to understand how this boss works. He'll keep blasting you with his void attack, like so. Yeah, but we need to wait until he just forgets about you. So you're going to see it right here. I think I had to do this in 3 stages, so it was unfortunate. We could tank him with an Unbreakable, but I wasn't willing to risk the run at 45 minutes. So we just done this. Seriously. So the GL shot as well didn't do any damage. It was immune damage. It didn't really do any damage, so that was unfortunate. So, like Anarchy will do damage. I guess because the void stuff goes on the ground and it's not really counting as damage in the same way that Anarchy will, so it means we've got to wait it out. It is what it is. So again, we'll wait behind cover. Remember, we're a 2-shot. When Void Starvation is procced, we're 2-shot. So that's another reason why I wasn't, 2 shots off him is quick. That's 2 seconds. He has a 2-second TTK on you. Think about it like that. So you can only do a little bit of damage and come out. You can't be, going in there too long. I could super the generator. I haven't tried that to see what that would be. That would probably be a strat to speed this up. Is just super it, probably. But again, I was frightened on the Void Starvation on whether he would kill me outside of my super. Once my super's done, I lose resistance, and he might just clean me up. I don't know. Boss is de-aggroed again. At least you get to see the AI pattern of this boss. We didn't get it. How did we not get that? So close. Same again. We'll just let the boss forget about us, which he's not wanting to for some reason. Being quite annoying. We have super as well, of course. So for this next phase, so we can look at super and him. But the first thing you should do, I would say, is just go to the back of the map. You want to get your Devour going if you're going to do a Void Titan setup like this. So we've got Devour going. The boss will obviously do his Solar Flames attack again, but we can cycle left and right. So, you know, just add clear with the machine gun. I believe that's most of the ads killed. There might be one or two left, and that's as good. So that's actually, as I say, it's really good with this. Just being able to proc Devour like that will do invis kill. The Solar Flames will de-aggro as well. As soon as you're invis, they won't track you. So there is that as well. And now we can just do DPS. I believe there's one Phalanx up. We'll try and get him before these flame balls come, but that's fine. Last Phalanx has been annoying. You just need to be careful about the boss again. With his if he teleports on you, he can teleport, which isn't a part of his moveset. He just teleports. That's just something you can do. So that's it. All adds are down. We can now just do damage. So I just figured just to do a couple of GL shots, proc Void Hunger, so that we don't get two shot. We'll use our super. I was wanting to use it. He's just finding the right time to do it because he keeps moving. He's doing his Solar Flames. Awkward on left to do damage there. I do end up using my Void Axes. It's just kind of awkward doing damage to him. It's not worth the risk of like popping a super as he does his flames, because you're in the air for quite a long time with Twilight Axe. It takes a while to get the... It's not like T-Crash or something. It takes a while to get the maxes out. So I knew that I was sort of weak at that phase. So I was waiting for him to finish his fireballs, really. So I was playing a bit more conservative. And the boss sort of de-aggroes a little bit after he stopped the flames. So I think now is a decent time to do my axes. He's still moving about, though. If he'd hit us with those two attacks, we would have been in danger there, actually. So I was right to be... what's the word? Conservative about it. There's axes in mid to pick, and I know that the axes got a buff and stuff, and they do a lot of damage, but I can't go and pick them up physically. It's not worth to go and pick them up. So, it is if he's not there, but he's right in mid, being annoying, so... Again, it doesn't matter. When you realise in GMs is, whenever it's a phase where you're just doing damage to a boss, it's not a critical phase. So it doesn't really matter what you do to him that phase. Strats that you do will speed it up, certain things up, but it doesn't really matter all that much. Like, I could use a super right now, for example. Here's the mistake that people will make. I could use a super right now and speed this up, but then we have no super for double unstops. Do you see how that's wrong to do that? So coordination of your super has to be critical on GMs. Even though it might be obvious to us players that run them, to other players it's not, because you're used to fire team play, and fire team play, a lot of people are so wasteful in fire team play, it's unbelievable. Even the good Guardians, even the 11 rank Guardians, right? I've seen them because I've played with them. They're so wasteful in how they play, and they pop the supers at the wrong time, they waste heavy at the wrong time, all this sort of stuff goes on, which in solo it'll crush you. Especially if you're using a build that's not absolute meta, it'll cost you in the long run. So know when you need a super, especially like the prism's even more important when you solo. It's much more important than fire team play. Not putting down on people who play fire team, because most of us do, but I'm just saying it's dead important. This you need to know. You need to know about more about the game when you're soloing it as opposed to fire team. You just need to know more about it. So we'll get a stun, and we're standing all the way back here. This is a good place to stand because the fireballs won't hit us. Maybe they might, one or two, but we've got Bastion for overshield. So we can deal with Unstoppable really easy and get finisher kill. Look at that resistance. Look at what we tanked there. That's crazy what we tanked. So we get invis kill like that, and then we run to the back of the map, which is really good. We also proc Void Hunger to help us survive against the boss. We now have Void Starvation, so we're weak, but the boss won't hit us from here after so long. He'll just do his solar attack. Now we need to kill the second unstop, which the second unstop's no problem because we've debuffed him. He doesn't push as much. We can take him at our leisure. Don't mess around with him too much, and know that you can't go anywhere else. You're stuck here. While the boss is doing the solar flames, you are actually stuck here. If you can try and get an invis kill on the boss, try and do that. But again, it doesn't matter because you could actually just go to the top side of the map while being invis. But I just melted him anyways because I figured I'm waiting out the Cabal balls anyways. So there's no gain here. There's no gain here for me. I've already decided I'm waiting now. I'm not going to try and rush the phase and try and take down the generator quickly, and do all that stuff. I already committed to this strat of waiting out the solar flames, and that's what we'll do. And that's what makes Proving Ground so long. It's not like the double tank room. It's not like getting to the boss. You can get to the boss reliably in 25 to 30 minutes, no problem. It's actually waiting out these balls. That's where all the time goes, is that portion of it. So even though the run is twice, look at that, look at how amount of damage he does. So even though the run's twice as long as a meta run, which I've already explained that, see, the perception of time for people is they don't understand it. So when somebody sees a run that's 15 minutes longer than a meta run, they'll automatically think the player's not good or their loadout's not good. What you need to understand is on solo GM specifically, because of how they are designed, if you start to run elements of your build that are not meta at all, you are just adding 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there for each portion of the run, and you end up doubling the time on a run because of that. So it's not because the player's bad or he doesn't know what he's doing or whatever. It's just because the elements of his build are not what the meta is. So your run is doubled. So if a meta runs 30 minutes on this or 25 minutes on this, you can double that if you run a non-meta run. Yeah? Now there's all sorts of things that come into play, like how good is how patient is the player and stuff as well. Because I've seen some people who run the meta, they're not patient. So if they were to run off meta, that player wouldn't even be that good. Some of them. So running off meta stuff will gain you patience, which you need it. Because in day one stuff, when you're on contest mode, not even the meta will save you. For example, Vespers of Host. That didn't save people. The meta didn't save people that day. You needed patience that day. And you didn't have the patience because you run the meta in a safe bubble. You're forever putting yourself in a cotton wool blanket of running the meta all the time. No. Hang on a sec. Let's judge you as the player, not the meta. Oh, don't run the meta. Let's see how good you are now. Oh, you're not that good now. Oh, why not? Is that because you're not running the meta now? Oh, I see. So the meta was carrying you. And that's what I'm saying. That's the logic. And I've ran this logic for a long time. Learn the meta and know the meta, but that's not the end game. The end game is to do stuff without the meta, not to run with the meta. That is a critical point. Once you understand that, no matter what build you use, you will succeed. Because anything is possible, really. If you can do damage to something, it's always possible. Like the minus 99 solo GM that Esoteric showed and proved to us. Like I said, I made the video about it and said, who's going to do it first? And Esoteric did it. Fair play to him. Anytime you can do damage, it is possible to solo anything. As long as the mechanics are sound. We're talking raid here, but GM wise, if you can do damage, anything is possible. It's a mind over matter thing at that point, and how much patience you've got. Can you run off meta? Because the meta might not save you. Most of the times it will. It depends on what you're into and what you're doing. But we're on the final phase of the boss. We just literally were cycling left and right. We're doing the same damage. Just bear in mind the boss is a bit more aggroed on you on this phase. I thought he was going to hit us there, but he didn't. But we're literally just going to finish the boss off. That was an interesting loadout. You'll see at the end, I ended up generating 305 orbs, which was insane. Probably my most ever orbs generated in a single solo Grandmaster. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.